Okay, so we're going to open the public comment portion of this evening's hearing. I do have some individuals that signed up for comments at the door, so I'll call these first and then open it up to the general public. So Ryan Batchelder is first on the list this evening.
How's it going, guys? Ryan Batchelder. I just have a question. So what exactly are the proposed changes? Because I didn't even know about the meeting until like about an hour ago. So I haven't been able to do my due diligence homework on what you guys are looking to change.
So I know you were at the first public hearing.
Yes.
So we took actually probably one of the major items are the badges.
Yeah.
We deleted that entire section.
Perfect. That's what I was just told.
I do it.
I wasn't sure if, just want to make sure that's exactly what the situation was, because obviously I'm not for the whole badge thing. I think it's.
Right. So that whole section was deleted.
Okay.
Another major change was the 250 feet. We changed it to 500, so we doubled it. The grandfathering for people who have been there for 2 years in the same location if something is developed 500 feet from that location.
Mm-hmm.
So we tried really hard to take everything into consideration that was given at the public hearing. So
there were some technical changes, renumbering and those kinds of things, but those are the major changes.
And those were the ones that we heard that night.
Okay, so you would not be able to set up within 500 feet of another business, is that's what that?
Of an established business, that's.
Okay, now that being said, does that make any difference if you're on public property or I'm sorry, private property as opposed to like if you're soliciting in the street? It's like say now I buy my piece of property is next door to an establishment and I set my business up there, is that going to affect that? It's not.
If you're on your private property, this doesn't apply. This applies to trucks or vending activity on the public streets.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I think that's it, guys. For me, anyway.
We usually don't have a dialogue.
No, you're good. Well,
Yeah,
I just was unsure. I kind of heard about it last minute, and I'm like, well, God, I should probably go because I was unsure. So I just figured I'd do my due diligence and see if that was the case. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for coming out the first time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Nick Whiteway.
Yeah, you got it right. Sorry, I have chicken scratch. Yeah, I was also same boat as him. I was unaware that he took the whole badge thing out. That was like my whole thing. And I guess I'm okay with the rest of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Andrew Ward.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Andrew Ward. I'm an attorney at something called the Institute for Justice. We're a nonprofit public interest law firm that works to protect civil liberties. And for more than 30 years, we work to reduce unnecessary licensing and protect the right to earn a living. We've also studied the burdens of licensing, particularly on low-income workers and people with criminal records. And I would urge the City Council to continue taking a look at this. I think there are two major problems with the proposed ordinance as it stands. The first is the 500-foot rule. One is that, and we've seen this in our experience, no one is going to be able to understand what the same items are. That sort of vague language is going to burden the police department with decisions about like whether a pizza is the same as a flatbread and whether a hamburger is the same as a sandwich. More importantly, I think this is something that could really fence out entrepreneurs just because somebody else got there first. That part about private property was deleted, but even assuming that's correct, the exception for private property. It's quite something to be told that you can't operate somewhere because someone else is already in business down the block. Even if you think you can provide a better product, generally speaking, healthy competition drives growth, it holds businesses accountable, it delivers better products to consumers. just protectionism for its own sake is not really a good use of government power, and the courts tend to agree with that. My organization has challenged distance requirements like this, and we've won those cases in courts across the country. The second problem that I really urge you to keep taking a look at is the background check provision. I certainly agree that there are appropriate licensing restrictions that turn on criminal records. You would not want a drug dealer to be a pharmacist or someone who was just convicted of embezzlement to be an accountant. But when the conviction does not relate to the actual work, people should be able to work. I think most people are interested in this primarily because it covers food trucks, and handing out food from a truck is not a risk to public safety. Ultimately, I think we all want people with criminal records to serve their sentence and move on and live productive lives. These sorts of permanent punishments are everywhere. They follow people for their whole lives, as this one does. There's no time limit on the conviction or history. And being forever at the mercy of these sorts of vague terms like unsatisfactory background check or moral turpitude that really don't mean anything, they make it worse for the public by making it harder for people to reintegrate into society. The major trend here is that states are moving away from this. Since 2015, 39 states have eased licensing restrictions that are related to criminal records, not increased them. 17 states ban the use of terms like moral turpitude or good moral character in making licensing decisions. And again, this is also something that the courts agree with. There's several cases declaring these kinds of character screening requirements unconstitutional, and they don't relate to the particular work. In particular, my organization challenged one of these in Pennsylvania. It applied to cosmetologists, but not barbers, much as this would cover mobile vendors, but not restaurants. And the appeals court found that law unconstitutional in 2020. Overly restrictive licensing can take away opportunity, can undermine entrepreneurship, can hinder growth. So I would encourage you all to really keep taking a look at those two particular provisions. Thanks for your time.
The floor is still open to the public for comment. Because it's a public hearing, I'm going to do this 3 times. So I'll call a second time. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the council at this time regarding the food truck ordinance? And third call, anyone from the public wishing to address the council regarding the food truck ordinance? Seeing and hearing no additional public comment, I will close this public hearing. I will declare the public hearing closed. This public hearing is closed. Thank you. Right, we'll move into our regular agenda. So for the record, it is now 6:42 p.m. And this will be the commencement of the regular city council and WBCA meeting. Item number 1 on this agenda this evening is a roll call vote regarding the food truck ordinance. I would entertain a motion by the Board of Councilmen to adopt the proposed amendment to Chapter 158 of the Code of Ordinances, peddling and smoking.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Millette. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a second from Councilman Demichia. The floor is open for questions or comments. Hearing none, I'll do the roll call starting on the screen. Councilwoman Horner.
Aye.
Councilman Walter.
Aye.
Councilman Demichia.
Aye.
Councilwoman Millette.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Item 2 on the agenda. I'll open the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to open the meeting to the public in accordance with Section 4E of the City Council and WPCA meeting rules of procedure.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Walden,
Second.
and seconded by Councilwoman Millette. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The floor open to public comment. Seeing none. We'll move on to item 3. I'll entertain a motion to Except for regular meeting minutes from October 17th, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldman. And second by Councilman Minichia. Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3B, I'll entertain a motion to accept the special virtual meeting minutes from the November 7th, 2022 meeting.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilman Bennett, second by Councilman Minichia. Questions on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm just gonna abstain as I wasn't at the meeting. Thank you.
For the record, one abstention, Councilman Conan. Item number 4, I will entertain, no, this is a mouthful. Let's do the presentation first, and then after the presentation, I'll call for a motion. So this is from Comprehensive Energy Solutions for the City of Torrington, being presented by Fulcrum Energy Solutions. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Nick with Fulcrum Energy Solutions. This is Chad Lewis with Eversource. This is a presentation of a comprehensive energy audit that we did at several buildings for the City of Torrington. We'll wait for the presentation to come up. Could you go to page number 2? All right, so first off, kind of an introduction. Energy Solutions is one of Eversource's subcontractors under this program. Eversource runs a municipal program where they offer incentives in forms of cash for cities to do energy conservation measures. They also have an on-bill financing program where they'll finance up to $5 million at 0% interest on your electric bill. So we work with Jamie Sikora's team to go out and we audited every single one of the buildings on scope. And overall, this page shows exactly how much work ourselves and Eversource are putting into this right now. So we did a no-cost audit. We went on site with our engineers. We did a full evaluation of the fire department, the police department, the DPW building, street lighting for I think phase 4, the teen center and the veterans building. We did a full data analysis, worked with Eversource to coordinate their engineers doing a full review and put together an entire financing package for you. We'll present to you on the next page. Total of 328 man hours was all done at no cost between us and Eversource. Go to the next page, please. The energy conservation measures that we found are lighting and lighting controls, going from fluorescent lighting or very, very old LED that you have in your police department to new LED lighting and controls, as well as the street lights, going from older boilers to new condensing boilers, putting variable frequency drives on equipment, which allows them to run in a more efficient manner, putting some stuff in vending misers and also doing some insulation work. Can you go to the next page, please? So this is the full analysis that we put together alongside Eversource. Before I go into this, to give you an idea of how this program runs, to go in a little more detail, what the mayor and another person has in front of themselves is something called a letter of agreement. So Eversource has done a full engineering analysis of all the buildings. We've gone on site. We've worked with Jamie's team, gathered all the hours of operation that you guys have, what your old equipment is, how much energy it uses. We put together how much kWh savings you have, how much therm savings, what total energy savings is, maintenance savings you guys would get by doing a project where you replace old equipment with new energy efficient equipment, and then a total price of this. So if this is something you're looking to move forward with, this would be a full comprehensive energy project. The total dollar amount, you can go to the next page. For more detail. Yeah. Oh, go back one. All right, so the total dollar amount of this project is $993,901. Eversource is going to be kicking in $327,000, $177 for an incentive would actually pay cash towards that. And there would be a financing amount where Eversource would finance the remainder of this amount on your electric bill at 0% interest. Total payback is 4.89 years, and that's doing all the equipment that we talked about. Eversource will be financing this. If you go to the bottom left-hand corner, you look there at monthly cash flow. The total monthly financing cost would be $7,316 over the financing loan term. Your total monthly savings for doing this project would be $8,977. So you're actually $1,661 cash positive throughout the loan term. So what does that mean? That means during that months of financing payments that you have, you'd be saving more money than it would actually cost the town in financing. So if you do this, if you do decide to move forward with this project, again, it's $1 million worth of equipment at no out-of-pocket cost for the city of Torrington. Eversource essentially pays for the project. They would pay us as their subcontractor once the project's complete, totally reviewed by their engineering team. And then you have a finance amount on each electric bill for each one of the facilities, totaled in $7,316, and then your savings overall would be more than what that financing charge would be. So, and when we go to present a lot of different towns, we had one pass recently, Waterford just completed that project, they're in run phase 3. When they go through these projects, they look at it like, well, we're actually kind of earning money and getting, you know, in their case it was $2 million, but $1 million here with the free equipment, including the streetlights, for no cost, essentially paying you through savings. You can go to the next page. Oh, I'm sorry, go one more, there you go. So in talking with Chad and the Eversource team, and obviously we can't really predict the future, but this past year, what was the total amount the rates have gone up? I think it was like 70% increase over the electrical rates. So over the next 5, 6, 7 years, we're estimating that your annual rates will increase anywhere from 5 to 10%. This kind of just shows what an overview financially of what you guys would look at if you did this project. So if you kind of we'll look at the middle one at 5%. So it shows the amount of money you're saving every year, plus the loan costs. Your cash flow will be about $20,000 to $19,936 you're actually making for this project. And when you go to the year 7, that actually turns into $144,000 a year that you're saving for doing this project. And then as the increases go, obviously you save more money. I think what we've seen in the trend is the electric utility rates have just been going up. We're all used to that. So a lot of towns are trying to take advantage of this very generous program that Eversource has, where they essentially pay for this project on your behalf, and there's no money out of pocket, and there's no, you don't have to go to taxpayers to get any money at all. It's fully funded by Eversource. So we can go through a lot of this if you want. There's all the ins and outs. There's go through one more page. That goes over what we just talked about, and go through another one. This is sustainability impact. So if you do this project, there's also, besides saving money, it's green the other way too. It does help with the environment. This would be a reduction of 395,000 kilowatt hours, 7,700 therms, which is equivalent to 321 metric tons of CO2 removed, 14 barrels of oil removed, 5,300 urban trees, and 810,000 miles not driven. So these are things that a lot of towns will use and put on their website as being going green. You know, we have other details we can show this and how many homes you take electricity off the grid. It's pretty compelling stuff. Can you go to the next slide, please? So the other thing to take a look at is this is every year these programs change. Right now, this LOA, if it's signed by, I believe, December 10th, they'll lock in that number. And the LOA is non-binding. If you sign as a document, you sign directly with Eversource, say we have the intention to do this project, it essentially locks in the incentives. So you can take your time and decide if you want to move forward with this. Obviously, with the decision made, you know, by December 10th, but then go move forward by the end of the year. Incentives change. We heard that boiler incentives are going to be going away. They're moving more towards electrification of HVAC. So there are boilers on this project. If you decide that this isn't something you guys are interested in, then you might lose incentives if you decide to replace some of your older boilers later down the road. The lighting incentives are also changing. LEDs are becoming more of a standard. I know you have some in here. And you know, take advantage while you still can, because those incentives are going to be going away very, very soon. So again, once this project is repaid, you're going to have $107,000 in annual savings. It's cash positive throughout the loan term, and it's essentially $1 million worth of installed equipment for free. Any questions?
Questions?
How long is this offer? Folks that if they put it on tonight.
December 10th.
Yeah, December 10th, that is the date just to sign the LOA. But again, the LOA says you have the intention of doing it. But trust me, if you sign it normally, most people move forward with it, just because it makes a lot of sense.
Other questions?
I have a question too.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Armin. So is this the street light number? Is that like all in, or is that just the cost of the actual lights? Is there labor costs and additional charges to us for that?
Oh, so all these are turnkey. There's no additional costs associated with this at all. Everything is material, labor, lifts, any sort of details that are needed, everything is included in this.
And then, pardon my Eversource skepticism, but what is in it for Eversource? Is it just that we're saving energy and that's a good thing for everybody, or is there like, seems awfully generous of them?
I can try if you want. Sorry, I'm stealing Chad's thunder. So, and I might say a couple of things that maybe I'm allowed to say, and you might not. So in order when you save energy, you take energy off the grid, it's basically stops Eversource from having to put money back in and putting more infrastructure. So why they have these programs is it's less expensive for them to do these programs than it is to build a new power plant or put new transmission lines. Also, this is your money. So everybody pays on their bill, whether it's residential, commercial, or municipal or public, a combined energy efficiency charge that's on your bill. I always equate it to, when you buy a 12-pack of Pepsi, there's a 5 cent, you're paying up front for your bottle redemption, and you really have to go back there and hand your bottles or cans in and actually get that 5 cents. Well, you guys have been paying into this program since it started, even how many years ago. So essentially, you've paid this money in, and Eversource does that so they can use this money to incentivize towns, cities, commercial properties to move forward the energy efficiency projects. So again, they don't have to build more infrastructure. And also the other thing is electric vehicles are coming too. So they're really pushing hard to try to take energy off the grid so they can help with that as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Questions? Go ahead, Councilman Minichi.
Yeah, I just
I
have
have a question, Mayor.
quick question. There was, you talked about estimates and you say, you can't predict the future. Is there anything that is guaranteed as far as, are we guaranteed to save something?
So Eversource,
estimates in the future. So based on what you've done in the past, how accurate are your estimates?
yeah, so Eversource is regulated by PURA, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. And they have the highest realization rate in the country, I think, for these projects. It's somewhere in the 90s, isn't it? So when they do these projects, in order to keep this program running and keep Chad with a job, they have to meet their goals. If they don't, they get fined. And they're not able to actually charge all of us that combined energy efficiency charge on our bill if they don't hit their goals correctly. They're regulated. So they will go in and they will take random projects, municipal, private, where they will go in, they will do metering and see where they are. And if they don't hit those goals, then they don't allowed to charge that money on our bills, and they also get fined. For this project, Eversource has fully evaluated this. We submit all of our stuff to them, we do the analysis, and their engineers go through it with a fine-tooth comb, and they'll send stuff back to us if it's not correct, or if the hours are too high, even if Jamie tells me the hours of this, and they say, well, by our standard, it's not, they'll knock it down. So because have the highest realization rate in the country, they're very, very conservative on what their goals are, and all these savings comes directly from the engineers.
Councilman Kevin Darrow, you said you had questions?
Yeah, I did, Mayor. I just want to clarify something here. Did I see on one of the previous slides that you're projecting a rate increase of 5 to 10% every year? Could you go into that a little bit in more detail, please?
That's fine. Yes, so the rates increased 70% over the past year. And in talks with people at Eversource, what they've told me that I can say, he probably won't, just for liability purposes, but that on average, over every year, the rates are going to be increasing between 5 and 10%. It could go up 2%, it could go up 70% like they did this past year. But in order to kind of project and give a rough estimate of what this looks like, we were said that was a safe number to use that we could present. I didn't want to put 70% even though it happened last year, because hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, they are going up there. That's what we've been told. Even if it's zero, though, you'd still be saving $107,000 a year for this. And you'd still be cash positive at the $19,936. We had all of your bills for every building and all of your rates. So we took your electric rates at the day of when we did this analysis, and that's what we used.
What would be driving that 10% increase every year?
I don't have the answer to that. That'd be something we probably have to get someone from a higher up Eversource to go over.
All right, let me ask you this then, sir. There's 107,000, so theoretically, right? Theoretically, in 10 years, we'd be paying theoretically 100%. Our rates could go up by 100%. Am I doing the math right?
You could be, they just went up 70% this past year.
Yeah. So that $107,000 savings, that's on year one?
Yes, that's
Or is
correct.
that 10 years
That's
from now?
using your
We're
existing
paying
bills.
10 times that much.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
As of, as a percentage of what we're spending, that $107,000 a year annual savings, that is based on year one in your calculation?
Yeah,
As
that's
opposed to
using your
being based on year 10, which could be 10 times higher, the rate increase?
I'm sorry, I was talking, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
My question is that $107,000 becomes pretty minimal in 10 years if our rates are going up 100% in 10 years. You follow me?
Yeah, but
It's
that
not,
107
it's
savings
fairly
will go up.
insignificant.
Well, the 107 would go up as well, it's linear, so if the rate goes up and then, how the savings is calculated, you have hours of operation, right? Multiplied by your rate. Existing-
I'm sorry, the hearing, I can't hear you that clearly.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll speak a little better, sorry about that. Is that better?
Yeah,
Okay, so how that works is you have hours of operation, you have your electric or rate or your gas rate, and then you have what the equipment is actually using. So the equipment's energy times how many hours of operation times your rate, that's how much you pay. So if we're reducing the total kilowatt hours or the total firms down, the rate stays the same. If the rate goes up, your savings goes up because it's the same amount, X stays the same, Y is the only thing that's changing.
okay. All right, I do see that. All right. That's it, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? And I know Jamie is, there he is. Is there anything that you wanted to add to the council's, I know this was something that you had been working on for quite a long period of time.
Yeah, the boilers, this is how it all started, is the boilers are failing and very, very old and need to be replaced at the police department. And it's not in the budget to do that. There's 5 boilers there. So when I involved these guys and looked into it, knowing this is my past life, what I used to do before I hired on here. So I knew that if we can get enough savings to cover the cost, we could potentially get the boilers replaced where it's not touching taxpayer dollars, it's based on the savings. So basic, if the electric usage is $20,000 a year, we're gonna save 5,000. That 5,000 that we're saving is paying off the loan. So our budget, we already budget that 20,000. So we're not going to the taxpayers to say we need more money. We're using our existing budgets to pay for this. You had mentioned streetlights. We've been trying to save to finish phase 4 for streetlights since before I was here. So I think we're in year 4 or 5 on trying to save. We still don't have enough money out of our savings of what we've been budgeting to finish that. This finishes phase 4 because it's included with it. So with all the savings in the comprehensive, we're able to get a lot of work done where again, it's not touching any of, taxpayers' monies. It's all in the budget that we already have. We don't have to ask for extra money. And with the on-bill financing, it's only available to municipalities. It's a way to get it done where it's kind of no money is physically coming out extra. It's money we already have set aside and it, spreads away everything. And even that, it would get us the new boilers at the PD, which are in dire need of some TLC.
And just for the new council members, when Jamie talks about phase 4 of the streetlight, that is the transfer to LED.
Correct.
Which is something we have been working on. I think certainly since I was mayor and Ryan Bingham before me was working on that. It was an initiative. So here we are 12, 13 years into this and we're still trying to get those transfers to be accomplished. This will help us get there. And the only other thing that I was looking for, Jamie, is these programs between with Eversource and Fulcrum and these opportunities. These are not, you don't foresee these being available in the coming years.
If we don't at least get the LOA signed this year by December 10th or cutoff, Eversource kind of closes these programs down for their year end. There is no incentive next year for the boilers, which means if we want to do the boilers, it's 100% cost of the city, no incentives, no nothing. As well as I already mentioned, the LED rebates are drastically being removed. Connecticut follows Mass, just gonna speak on behalf of you. Eversource obviously is in Mass and Connecticut. Connecticut's always 1 to 2 years behind Mass, so boiler rebates like what we're getting now are already gone in Massachusetts. Our LED rebates have already been cut in Mass to what we have in Connecticut. So Connecticut's following suit. So this is kind of like I wish I hired on a year ago to be able to get this done sooner, but the rebates are going away. So this is only gonna cost us more money next year because the rebates will be cut. So that 327,000 might only be 107,000, if that.
Right.
So that, yeah, it'll be more cost out of pocket for us, which is what I'm trying to avoid to get this work done. And the other thing that, from my standpoint in facilities, is this is gonna put us back at zero on the lighting, at least on a 5-year warranty. And I think it's 3 years on the boilers. So maintenance wise, it's gonna lower what we have to do. If you look at the amount of money we have to put in every year at the PD or fire department and all that stuff, it'll minimize that because we don't have to touch anything. At least for a very long time, I'm hoping.
Thank you. So, any questions on the information that Jamie shared? Yes.
I do have a question. Thank you. Jamie, I want to thank you because that's like a lot of outside of the box thinking and to help in looking for grants. I appreciate you doing the work on that. And it seems to all make sense. I just want to make sure I understand back to streetlights. Are we talking about going to LED on all the streetlights for the cost that I'm seeing in this presentation?
Not all of them, the remaining. So we've done.
Remaining, okay.
So what's left is most of the residential areas. I want to say the total is 484 fixtures left to be converted from non-LED. It's either metal halide or high pressure sodium. This one converted over to LED.
Great, thank you. I appreciate
The
it.
other thing I didn't mention is the city is looking to get onto sustainable CT. This helps us hit that goal also. So this is a big push to show that Torrington is, there you go. Torrington is doing their part. So there's a bunch of different criteria and little mini goals you have to hit to be able to get the certification for that. And this is a big part of it also. This helps us get there. This handles quite a few of those points that we get.
So I'm gonna follow up, and I agree. Thank you for, looking at this opportunity for Torrington. But before you were here, we talked about streetlights, which was a huge response from our communities about the reduction of streetlights. So this is the existing streetlights that are still not LED, right? There's no
Correct.
removal of streetlights, which was probably one of the larger public hearings we've ever had. People like their streetlights. So I just wanted to make sure I understood that as well.
And these also make the streetlights compliant with what's called dark sky compliant. So these are 100% cut off, so it's not throwing light up because it's LED, whereas right now a lot of these streetlights throw light everywhere. So this also helps with the sustainable and puts us in with modern times, if you will, on what code is.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's call for questions for either Jamie or Fulcrum or Eversource. All right, then, at this point, I would like to entertain a motion by the City Council to accept the recommendation of the Facilities Manager, Jamie Sikora, and Public Works Director, Ray Drew, to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to sign the Eversource Letter of Agreement, that's an LOA, for the reserve of $327,177.48 energy incentive dollars, as further explained in the LOA from Eversource, dated October 19th, 2022, and the facility manager's memo dated November 3rd, 2022. Thank you, Councilwoman Ruette.
Second.
And seconded by Councilman Menichia. Questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 5, I will entertain a motion on recommendation of the Services for the Elderly Commission to waive the bid process and purchase a Meals on Wheels vehicle from Soul Vendor Delivery Concepts East Inc. of Elkhart, Indiana for $63,833, plus an additional $500 to $1,000 for graphic labeling. These funds will be allocated in advance to fully cover this purchase, as further explained in the nutrition supervisor's letter dated October 19, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Bowles, and second by Councilman Minichia. Questions?
I think it's always about waiving the bid process, but I think that's the
Sole vendors. Yeah. Yeah, these Meals on Wheels trucks are just like quite unique enough. Other questions or comments? I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 6. I'll entertain a motion to reappoint Christopher Smith as a regular member of the zoning board of appeals for a 5-year term set to expire on December 1st, 2027. Thank you, Councilman Collette.
Second.
And second by Councilman Minichia. Questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7. I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of fleet manager, street superintendent, and purchasing agent to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract to purchase one riding industrial floor sweeper from Mayberry Material Handling of East Long Meadow, Mass. In the sum of $46,176. Funding for the purchase will be from the street department capital account as further explained in the purchasing agent's letter dated October 31st, 2022.
So move.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
And second by Councilwoman Hona. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 8. I'll entertain a motion by the city council here enacting as a water pollution control authority to approve the following payments from Fund 490 sanitary sewer capital improvements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there are 6 items itemized on the motion to save time for reading them into the record. All payable to Wright Pierce Engineers. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
Councilwoman Hona. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 9, we're moving into the THS TMS construction. I'll entertain a motion to approve ONG's guaranteed maximum price amendment number 2, further explained in the building committee co-chairman's memo dated 11/7/2022-1, pending approval from the building committee and the board of education. I'm assuming that they did.
They did,
They
yes.
did, thank you. All right, so we'll leave it at that, as approved by the building committee and board of education on Thursday, November 10th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
And second by Councilwoman Hona. Questions? Seeing and hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item 10, I'll take this in 2 parts. 10A, I'll entertain a motion to approve ONG's recommendations to award the following phase 2 bid packages to the lowest qualified responsible bidders, as further explained in the building committee co-chair's memo dated 11/7/2022-2, already approved by the building committee and the board of education on November 10th, 2022.
So moved.
And second by Councilwoman Hona. Questions on this motion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. 10B, I'll entertain a motion to reject all bids for bid package 2.10, general trades, and authorize ONG Industries to rebid the revised bid package as further explained in building committee co-chair's memo 11-7 2022-2 pending the approval, as approved by the building committee and board of education on November 10th.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Horner. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I have a request to table item number 11 to allow the building committee co-chairs to do a little further research on this and get back to us next week. Is that the intent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to table?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilwoman White,
Sorry.
and second by Councilman Minichia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 12, I'll entertain a motion by the city council. Water pollution control authority to accept the recommendation of the WPC administrator and the purchasing agent to award the bid for purchase and installation of the 3 stationary anti-rotation scum deflectors to Envirodyne Systems Inc. of Campbell, Pennsylvania for $58,612 as further explained in purchasing agent's letter dated November 9, 2022. Funds to come from WBC and Capital Fund 31.
So moved.
Thank you. I hear Councilman Minichia and seconded by Councilwoman Burwett. Are there questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, I'll entertain a motion on recommendation of the Gear Committee, Chief Eric Warden, and the purchasing agent, Peggy Zuko, to authorize the mayor to act on behalf of the city to award, execute, and administer a contract to purchase approximately 10 sets of PPE at the price of $2,999 per set from Rhythm Industries, Inc. of Paxton, Mass. As further described in the purchasing agent's letter dated November 9, 2022. Funding for this will be from the fire department capital account. And this was approved by the Board of Safety last week.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilwoman White. The second by Councilman Minichia. Questions on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14. I'll entertain a motion on recommendation of the ARPA Committee to award the Women's Business Development Council, WBDC of Stamford, Connecticut, the sum of $500,000 of the city's ARPA funds to provide technical assistance and grants directly to the Triton businesses, as further explained in Economic Development Director's memo dated November 8, 2022.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rowett,
Second.
and second by Councilman Minichia. And before I open the floor for questions, Krista, do you want to talk a little bit and then introduce our guests?
Good evening. In my memo that I had sent out, I went over the process. We used a little bit. We talked about when we pulled together the budget that we wanted to make sure we were giving grants to small businesses and to startup businesses, but internally we have never done that. We didn't have a process to do that. So we did an RFP to look for an organization that would help us with developing this grant and administering the grant, similar to what we had done with the community impact grants and the Residents Connecticut Foundation. We did talk with the foundation about taking over this piece, but they really work with nonprofits. They don't tend to work with for-profit businesses. This wasn't a good fit for them. So we went on the hunt for another organization to help us. Through the RFP, we did receive 4 proposals, and 2 of which were interviewed. Through the interview process, I believe WBDC stood out above the other proposals because they already have a process in place. And they're doing this successfully throughout the state. So we have Fran and Brenda here from WBDC to give you a brief presentation and answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. It's good to meet you in person and members of the committee. Thank you so much for having us here. We have a presentation for you, but we realized that we have about 10 minutes, so we're going to be pretty quick. I'm Fran Pastore. I'm the CEO of the Women's Business Development Council, and I'm here tonight with my colleague, our Vice President of Programs and People. We are a 25-year-old nonprofit organization that was started in Stamford, Connecticut. We have 3 offices, one in Stamford, one in New Haven, and one in New London, and we're about to open an office in Waterbury, Connecticut. We have been running our grant program for the past nearly 2 years. It is a product of one of the silver linings of COVID. We were tapped by the state to come up with a program that would help the small businesses that were underserved and did not receive funding to some of the federal programs that were out there. And so we came up with this grant program, and we have successfully awarded several million dollars in grants to businesses in every single county of the state. I'm going to let my colleague Brenda Bickett, who actually manages the program, tell you a lot of the details about the program, and then we'll both answer any questions that you have. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve this community.
Thank you, Fran.
So as Fran said, we have been running the grant programs across the state, across all small businesses, but also in the childcare industry. Just in the interest of being brief, I will go straight to the details of the grant program, which, if you could flip forward, is on, starts on slide 19. Our proposal to the city is on slide 18, which is $500,000, 350 of which would go out directly to businesses in the city of Torrington, and 150,000 would be to cover the cost of the technical assistance and the support of running the program. We would match that with 50,000 from WBDC funds that we have raised from other sources. That would go directly to grants to businesses in the city of Torrington, and then 50,000 to support the technical assistance and the running of the program. The 2 grants that we propose are on slide 19, the Launchpad grants, which are grants for startups, for businesses that have been in business for less than 2 years. And the process for those is to complete one of our business planning classes, either a startup class, which is our business concept clinic, or a business plan writing class, guide to plan for success, or a QuickBooks or a marketing class, but they're showing essentially sweat equity, commitment to the business idea for the early stage business. Then they complete an application. They meet a couple other requirements like opening a business bank account, registering a business, and then pitching it. And those grants are for $2,500 and can be used for anything for the business. That is a smaller program that we have been piloting over the last year that we are looking to broaden. But the program, the bigger program, is the grants for businesses that have been around for 2 or more years and have revenues between $25,000 and $2 million. And those grants are for up to $10,000 per business to make an investment in the business that will really help them grow. And so it's not for things like inventory or staff salary or real estate improvements, but an investment that they can make, that they can show and explain how that will help them increase their revenues. So for a bakery, it might be adding an additional oven or additional fridge that will give them more capacity. For a service-based business, a therapist, it could be training. For other business, it could be an investment in marketing that will help them reach a new market. But the idea is that it's an investment in the growth of the business. So some of the details on the businesses that are eligible are on slide 20. And then I would say, just briefly, then we can move to any questions that you have. On slide 21 is the process and the technical assistance that we provide to all the businesses. So we will support businesses in their applications. holding information sessions to help explain the grant, answer questions. We also offer one-on-one support from our team of business advisors who have years of business expertise to help them support them through the grant process, whether it's helping them with their financial projections or helping them think through how they would use the investment money. And then once we award the grants, we provide an orientation, provide networking, mentoring, classes, and then follow up after the grants are awarded. And it's not just to the businesses that we are awarding the grants to, which we provide support in the classes, the business advising and mentoring, but also for those businesses who have been declined for the grant, to help them understand what was missing or why they didn't get the grant, and help them to grow their business and address whatever that challenge was. So hopefully that they will apply for the grant again and be successful. So that is a very quick summary. Anything to add? Oh, I guess the last piece that's really important is tracking of the impact of the grants. So we follow up on a quarterly basis with each business that we give the grant to help understand the impact that the grant has had. And of the 167 grants that we have made across the state for businesses that have had the money for 12 months, so have had the chance to buy the oven and make the marketing investment, over 80% of those have increased their revenues, and over 60% of those businesses have increased their profits, and they've added over 100 jobs in a small group of those businesses.
Yeah, thank you.
55% of them.
Thanks, Brenda. I think what I failed to do in the interest of time was just create a bigger picture about the work that we do and what we were founded to do. So the grants are essentially a new product that we've been offering for the past 20 months or so, but the organization was actually founded as a technical assistance organization. Technical assistance is what Brenda just described, which is the mentoring, the coaching, the training, the classroom education. How do I launch a business? How do I scale a business? And what are the components? What are the educational pieces that I need to achieve that? That being, how do I write a business plan? How do I write a marketing plan? A lot of classroom training, a lot of one-on-one coaching, and a lot of one-on-one counseling. So that is really what we were doing and still do, and that is really all we do. The grants are a very new and big project of a product of what we're offering, and it's a natural progression for us to create a new opportunity for women and minority-owned businesses. So I think the only other thing I really would like to enforce is what you ended on a minute ago, which is the thing that we're really most proud of, is the fact that we will be able to easily report back to all of our stakeholders who gets that money, how they use it, and the economic impact. And you just heard Brenda say that there were over 100 jobs created from the 167 grants that we have already given out. Increases in income, increases in personal revenue, and increases in jobs. And so those are the things that we are really concerned about and we're really good at, because we have a community of women, a brand and a reputation around the state. And we would be honored to help you reach your constituents. So please ask us any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for 6.5 minutes.
What's that?
I think it's a full 6.5 minutes we have down there. So the floor is open. Questions on this grant award. Councilman Cavanero.
Yeah, I would like to ask, how do you decide who to invest all this technical expertise to? On what basis do you allocate that expertise?
I mean, on the technical expertise side, we support all businesses that come to us. So we're not kind of making choices about who we allocate it to. We give it to everyone who comes to us, whether it's classes or one-on-one business advising. In terms of the grants, the businesses obviously need to apply for the grants, and the grants are essentially a mini loan application. The other thing that we're really excited about is the grant program is really a stepping stone to help businesses go on and access other forms of capital. And of the 167 businesses we've funded already, I think it's about 19 of them, or no, 16 of them have gone in, I think, just over 20 other infusions of capital to access another 1.2 million in capital, most of which is loans, but some grants as well. But so the businesses apply and they have to, it's essentially a mini business plan broken out into questions, so it's not quite so intimidating. And then they also need to explain their use of funds, and then a lot of backup documentation on showing their historical financials, their tax returns, their proof of residency, that they're in good standing with the Department of Revenue Services. So they submit a lot of documentation that is evaluated for, does it make sense and is the business eligible? We have an internal team that does a review where 2 people read applications, 2 of our staff, for eligibility. So to make sure that they are actually registered, that the letter of good standing is correct, all that sort of stuff. And then we set up an external review committee that reviews the eligible applications and decides which ones they think are the best and they want to fund. Does that answer your question?
Well, to some extent, to be specific, are you
Yes.
investing, are these for-profit companies that you're investing in? Is that?
Yes, they are for-profit small businesses. Of the businesses we funded so far, the range in revenues is 25,000 up to 2 million. The median is 135,000 in revenues. So they are, pretty small businesses that the $10,000 investment really, would take them a long time to save that money to be able to buy that oven to help them grow their business. So it's a small infusion of capital to for-profit small businesses.
All right, and of this, your track record is what? I mean, how many of these businesses are still in business and profitably so 5 years after your involvement?
So we have been making the grants for the last 2 years, and of those, 2 have closed. 1 moved out of state and so shut down the business, and the other one decided to move to a different model and closed and opened a different business. I think both of those were, one was 6 months, the other was 12 months after the grant. But the others are all still in business, and over 80 of the businesses that have had the money for 12 months, over 80% have increased their revenues and over 60% have increased their profits. So, and that's part of, why we're asking for so much historical financial data from the business to make sure that it is a business that, we think we're making a good investment by giving them the grant, that they will be able to use it to grow their business.
And these businesses, they're making a product, right? I mean, most of these, or are they more businesses that are, again, dependent on grant money themselves? Are you spawning other grant?
Yeah, they're not depending on grants. No, and when we've had a couple of applications where they had a huge, the businesses had huge debt that it was very hard to see from their financials how they were ever going to get out from under that debt. And so honestly, the $10,000 wasn't going to save them. And so we didn't give them the grant, right? We're really looking for businesses that, have proven that they have been successful, but they need an investment to help them get to the next level. Right, so Lorca is a coffee shop and there's actually a couple of businesses in Torrington in the slides that we have funded, but one is a coffee shop in Stamford that they sold coffee and kind of baked goods like muffins, and they wanted to expand to sandwiches, and so they used the money to buy an oven that helped them kind of be able to sell higher margin items and expand their busy period into the lunch hour. So it's things like that we are making investments in. A florist that we funded wanted to buy 2 additional refrigerators so that they could expand the capacity and the size of events that they did, right? So that enabled them to grow their business that way.
Well, when you need approval, you're asking for approval, is that right, Mayor? You're asking council to approve this?
Request, yes, approval of the grant to the WBDC, yes.
Right, but is this a one-time only approval? I mean, is this something that's going to come back for refunding in years out?
Well, because this is coming from the ARPA funding, it would be the one-time funding. But the projection is that this would be sent or granted to some recipients over the next 12 months.
Yes.
And over that 12-month period, we certainly would ask for WBDC to report back to the council where the grant funds were sub-granted And
I get that, Mayor. I'm just, my only concern again is that, a different category of funding, of grant funding for public education, as you well know, serves an immediate purpose, and it's great, and we get great results. But then once the grant money goes away, then the city's left with that structure, that infrastructure of a business to support with other, is this a similar situation?
So I think the short answer is no, but I will tell you this, I don't know if anybody read many of the articles that came out last week. The governor announced a $46.6 million investment in women-owned and small businesses. WBDC was the recipient of $9.8 million. And of that $9.8 million, $6 million of it is going into a grant fund, and we'll be putting out $6 million into the state of Connecticut, into the hands of women and minority-owned businesses over the next 5 years. We have already invested. Torrington, businesses in Torrington received the most grants to date that we have put out. Am I right about that? The child care grants and equity match grants.
I don't know that they've received the most, but they have received significant.
Significant.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm getting at is that while we will not be asked, the city may not, this is a one shot for the city, we're not going to be coming back. I hear what you're saying is that the grant program in general, not necessarily specific to Torrington, but there is a grant fund for the next 5 years that people in Torrington, small businesses in Torrington can apply to.
Okay.
If that helps at all, and that was my mistake as well.
And I think the only thing that I would add to that, for the council members, when we were developing our strategic spending plan of the ARPA funds, the total 10 million, we all agreed that we wanted to keep as close to the original intent of this legislation. And that was to push these funds out to the businesses and the not-for-profits and the organizations that suffered the most during the pandemic. So this partnership that we would have with WBDC and the grant funds that would be allocated for this would do exactly that. It would be putting these funds directly in the hands of those small businesses that suffered as a result of the pandemic. With a high level of expertise, technical assistance, and that expertise in evaluating and assessing how successful the grant funds were used with a full report back to this board.
That's fine. I understand that. I understand that. I just, I've said this many times before, just even the business with what Governor Lamont may or may not do with, yet another round, a huge bucket of grant money that could be used. Just the awareness that we are focused on protecting and trying to save businesses that are for-profit businesses that can be self-sustainable going forward. I mean, that's the goal here, and as a, God forbid I sound like a Republican, but there was a lot of, I do agree with the perception years ago during the Obama administration that the government should not be in the business of picking winners and losers in a free market economy. And I happen to subscribe to that point of view as well. And I think, businesses that are going to live off of grant money, continuing grant money, there's a price to pay as a municipality, but also as a state with our extraordinarily high tax rates at all levels here. There is a price to pay, and that price is then reflected on the ability to attract large-scale for-profit businesses into the state of Connecticut to compete where other states, do not have these same structures in place. So there are long-term consequences of this. And I'm just trying to get my point across that you get nothing for nothing. And if these are indeed, if the target goal is to protect and develop for-profit that are self-sustainable, that can then expand their workforce and all that, then I'm all for this. I support it.
That is the purpose.
So I'm gonna try and chime in here because just in terms of process, the 4 proposals did come before the ARPA review committee. And unfortunately, I missed the interviews with the 2 potential applicants. And I'm sorry I missed them, but all of the comments that I received from my fellow members of that committee, it was unanimous, to bring this organization to the council for approval. But I also want to state as a woman, That my biggest concern was that this was open to all businesses, not just women or minority owned. So, we have great assurance, from the organization that really was founded by women and really is, its mission is about women and minority groups. It is for all people. So I think their biggest challenge may be communicating that to those potential recipients. And whatever marketing material you have, that you've got a young man out there that's, very interested in developing his business ideas and so, it's probably less awkward for me to say it as a woman, but it is open to all, businesses that, would qualify for this funding, so, or these loans. So I'm excited. I'm sorry I missed your interview. It was the only meeting I missed.
Well, if I can just add to that, and Brenda chime in, but we are doing very similar work in London and Waterbury, where the funds from the municipalities are being used in the same way we're discussing using them here. So we do have a marketing plan in place to reach men. We always say courageous men come to WEDC. So we have a lot of confidence that we'll be able to reach the right constituency and attract both men and women to the organization.
Yeah, no, just exactly that. We were in the middle of, or we launched about 3 weeks ago, the new London grant program, actually 4 weeks ago now. And we're not having any trouble attracting male applicants at all. So, and we're very clear in the communication that it is open to men and women.
Final call for questions from the council. Hearing none, I'm going to call on the motion which was made by Councilwoman Ruette, seconded by Councilman Minichia, to award the $500,000 grant from the city's ARPA funds to provide technical assistance and grants directly to 23 businesses. I'll call the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're excited.
Very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving into item 15, I'll entertain a motion to authorize the building department to refund the following permit fees as further explained in Corporation Council's memo dated November 14, 2022. It is $167 to Philip Marasco, owner of record, 45 Colorado Avenue North, and $1,776 to Walter Dickinson, owner of record of 118 Silver Brook Lane. Thank you, Councilman West, and thank you, Councilman Minichia. Are there questions on the motion?
Usually see a lot of refunds.
No, I know. If there are no questions,
Why?
I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 16, I'll entertain a motion to accept the building department report from August 2022. Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
Councilwoman White. Questions on the motion or on the report? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 17, I'll entertain a motion to release the sewer liens in Corporation Council's memo dated November 14, 2022.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
And seconded by Councilwoman Horner. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 18, I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of the tax collector and authorize the tax refunds and to get on a list dated November 14, 2022.
So
Thank you, Councilwoman Minichia.
Second.
And seconded by Councilwoman Ruette. Questions on the memo or the refunds? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 19, I'll entertain a motion to consider business by department heads.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Minichia.
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman Horner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I see we have Deputy Chief Tripp in the room. Anything to add this evening?
I will have something from here.
Good evening. I just want to just make a comment. We received some notification from Northwest Fire Department with their thanks. They actually subcontracted Director Fire Department with One Action to stand by with their gasoline tanker 44. So we helped them out immensely with other volunteer departments from the Northwest corner for the evening shift. So they reached out to us, said, great job, and we all work well together. That's all I have.
Great response. Mr. Townsend, anything from WPC? From the city clerk's office?
Thank you.
Corporation Council.
Yes, but just a brief report. The city owns, now the city owns 403 Torringford West Street. This property was acquired by the city through a foreclosure. I should say a settlement of a foreclosure litigation. It currently is an empty lot because the building that was on it burned down. So it's empty except for the garage that still remains on the property. So the city owns the property. There is a question as to what we want to do with it. It'll at some point come back to the city council with a recommendation either from the mayor's office or from me or from facilities manager Jamie Sikora. So we'll have some further information on this, but we do own this property. It'll be similar to the property that we acquired through foreclosure on High Street some time ago. So I just want to let council know about that transaction. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving into item 20, I want you to motion to consider business by mayor and members.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Waldron. Second by Councilman Menichia, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. To the screen, anything else this evening, Councilwoman Horna?
I got a call this afternoon from Yvonne Donahue from the Center for Dance Arts again, just inquiring, and I don't know if Rista's still in the room. I know we discussed why those grants weren't coming in, the money wasn't coming in as fast as the grantees thought they would, because we really probably should have prepared them that they would be reimbursed after their expenses. But do we have any update on when that money is going to be going to that first round of grantees?
I believe, as a matter of fact, Rista was just updating you this afternoon. All the vendor paperwork, because the decision was that the Northwest Community Foundation could not be issuing checks to for-profit organizations. The decision was that the checks would come from the city. That kicked us back into this other level of documentation, so you can create vendor status in our financial software. It's my understanding that has been a work in process. I'm reluctant to say when, but I do know that that particular vendor has been set up, and we thought that the checks would be going out in the next, certainly before the holiday.
Thank you. I appreciate the update.
The next round of grants, I think, will be much more seamless. So
And I conveyed that it's really a learning curve for everybody. So.
it is, yeah. And we'll learn it, and then we won't have any monies to give out for grants anymore, so. Anything from Councilman Waldron?
No, Mayor, nothing from me. Thank you.
Anything from Councilman Cavanero?
Nothing here, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Menichia.
Yeah, I just want to say that I had the pleasure and honor to attend the Veterans ceremony on Veterans Day. I try to make that every year, and it was, great as usual to see the veterans that were there and the other people that came to support them, and just remembering all that served. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Willett.
I would agree. PJ Bagaro did a great job as the guest speaker. But I also wanted to congratulate all of the people who had won the election this past election, and I know there's a lot of good work to move forward. So
Yes.
done. No more political ads. And watching TV. That's the best part, isn't it? Anyway, I have nothing else there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So I would just add, I'm looking out in the audience and I see that Tom Kindeffer is here, a regular at our council meetings, who is also the recipient of a Good Citizen Award as voted on by our Conservation Commission. And I know that we have a presentation we'd like to make to you. Nate was not able to make it, and I think Christine was planning on being here. So I'm hoping, Tom, that you can attend Monday, the 21st, and I'll make sure that everybody's here.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, so, but I do want to take this opportunity to thank you for the incredible work that you do on the city of Torrington. I think it would be noteworthy to say that I saw Tom without a recyclable bag filled with garbage that he's picking up on a regular basis off of our streets and trails. So your work is greatly appreciated, and we'll do a much better job when we see you next week.
Okay, very good.
I think we need to round up. That's just everything. The one the commission, or the conservation commission. The only other thing that I would like to add is, and you heard our facilities director, James Sikora, allude to sustainable CT, local actions, state impact. I am proud to present to the council this evening the official notice that we received bronze status. To accomplish bronze status, we had to do a number of initiatives in. Oh, do you want to? I feel like it's disingenuous. Again, I think our Sustainable CT committee deserves the credit and the photo on this one. But I also provided for you, just as a reminder, because there are some new members of the council here, I provided the brochure that tells you, what are the goals of sustainable CT, what are the 13 different initiatives and areas of focus that qualify us for this status. It's been quite a bit of work. Sustainable CT started in 2017, 5 years ago. Marty Connor from our former city planner and land use office, was really instrumental in getting us kick-started. Rista was very much a part of the early stages of this. So it was certainly an honor to be able to attend today's ceremony at the West Hartford City Hall to receive this with 23 other municipalities. So we are well on our way to silver. And I think, as Rista and I were talking about this on the way back from West Hartford, we want to expand this committee because this is great work that is recognized by the state, that positions us well for grant funds, but more importantly, can really change a community, creating a better quality of life, in a more focused vision of where we're going. So very proud of the work that was done. Shout out to Jeremy Leifert, current city planner, who picked the ball up after Marty retired. He'd be here this evening, except that he is home with his COVID diagnosis. I accepted the t-shirt. Sorry, Jeremy, I'm not sharing the t-shirt. I'm wearing this one. So that's something I think that we should all be proud of, and this council certainly should take credit for it as well, because it was only after your vote to allow us to participate in this establishment committee after this happened. With that said, going to item number 21, I'll open the meeting to the public for comment on agenda items only. Have a motion?
So
Councilmember Minichia. And second by Councilwoman White. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Open to the public on agenda items only. Seeing none, there being no further business before the board, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilwoman White, second by Councilman Minichia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I want to say props to Councilwoman Luna for helping them.
Yes.